Tonight I'd like to invite a friend of mine, Susie Franco, to the podium to talk about a friend of Moscow who recently passed, Gary Myers. And she's got something for us.
You're welcome.
It's a terrible way to hear that.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor Nancy Cheney, Mayor of Moscow, councilmen and councilwomen, it's a pleasure to speak to you tonight on behalf of a group of Gary Myers' friends. Gary passed away last November 25th, and the friends include the Moscow Food Co-op financial manager Deb Reynolds, Kelly Moore, Royal Motor Inn manager Diana Crine, who worked for Gary, Sandra Russell, who I'm sure many of you know, she's been here forever, CPA Andrea Beckett, Geraldo and Patty at Patty's Kitchen, and Gary's Moscow Mountain neighbor, Susan Franco. So Gary was a great friend of Moscow and of the community. He was with his wife when he passed away from cancer. They'd been married for 7 years. And many Moscow residents who didn't know him personally would recognize him from his dog Buddy, who was always with him. And those of you who have the invitation will see Buddy on the back with Gary. As a 17-year operator of the Royal Motor Inn, Gary was ever ready to lend a hand to those who were down on their luck and needed help. International students often found work and a friend and a place to stay when they needed it at the Royal Motor Inn. A special interest to you, members of the City Council, you would like to know probably that Gary was an early force behind the establishment of the Palouse Rotary Ice Rink. He's the one who brought the Zamboni to town. And he cajoled a lot of you, I'm sure, for financial backing. He was adamant about the importance of a lively downtown, which concerns all of us, the vital role of small, independent entrepreneurial businesses. His enthusiasm initiated keeping Howard Hughes Video alive and well. And behind the scenes, he kept a lot of other small business going and encouraged entrepreneurs. He was an adventurer and a traveler, kind, generous, and an excellent friend. Idler's Rest on Moscow Mountain provided a setting for his insatiable desire to build structures, cabins, and create pleasant places. His hand on the land was always gentle, and he always had a project underway. There's a number of structures out there. If you know the current owners, I'm sure they'd let you tour Gary's building projects. His daughter Faith wrote about her father's generosity and honesty in a moving way. To quote her, she said, "You have always been so open and wonderful to everyone who you came in contact with and have touched so many lives. You've always seen the good in people and given them a hand when needed, many times changing their lives," which is true. It's not an overstatement. All of their friends in Posada, that's Baja, Mexico, where Gary went to be warmer for a while, and Idaho and your family have been enriched. You've been inspiring to all of us to be more adventurous, to enjoy life and take risks, to be kind, work hard, and to love the people around you. And interestingly enough, that kind of characterizes the sense of Moscow, which is why Gary loved it so much here. His very close friend in Moscow, businessman Frank Pelfrey, said, this is a quote from Frank, "Gary loved good stories. He loved people getting together to laugh and to have fun. He had a deep reverence for nature, the earth, and animals. He was fearless on many fronts and was not afraid to talk about what was happening to him as his cancer progressed on. He had a pure and uncomplicated spiritual nature." Friends will gather to celebrate his life and many Moscow activities on Sunday, August 18th. And this is an invitation to you and to all the people in Moscow and Latah County who knew Gary or recognized him with Buddy. And then it will take place at the American Legion Hall on Howard Street, and Kelly Moore will be the master of ceremonies. You're welcome to contribute finger food, and the hours are from 4 to 8 with the program beginning at 5. Gary will be remembered by all who met him for his uncomplicated joie de vivre. He's survived by wife Terry Myers of Florida, his daughter Faith Myers of Portland, and her 2 young children, Gracie and Dash, and another daughter, Jackie Myers Smith, who lives in Wallace. We now know that for sure that Terry and Faith at least will be here, and we certainly hope that all of you can come also. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Susie.
Thanks, Dan.
Now, if everybody would like to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dan. Susie, I hadn't heard about Gary's passing. He's been on my mind a lot, on and off through the years, but especially lately. Last time I saw him was up at the end of his driveway. I'd biked out to Idler's Rest, and we had a nice chat in the cool of that place. And I don't know if I even remember Buddy, but I remember Sal, his Rottweiler he had before. And Sal used to show up in Friendship Square at Halloween with all the little children, and she wore a mask just like all of them. It was great. So he was a great friend of the community of Moscow. Thank you for sharing that information with us.
You're welcome.